Hello, it's Molly Reamer with Bridget's Grove and 30 Days of Goddess, and this is a flip through of my October prayer book. And I did a video at the beginning of October that was called From This to That showed a little flat version of this pumpkin prayer book. And anyway, this is what it becomes after a month of keeping dates with the sacred in your life. I used a sticker on the front from Dandelion Lady. I'm one of her patrons on Patreon. And that was the only embellishment I did to the cover. But I used cards from a charity. I always like to put a little pocket in the front to keep extra little add-ons. I had some tarot cards from Goddess Provisions, and I had one that I was using for a bookmark that I put in there. Then I have some extra little bits that I didn't get to. Once the book is finished, I usually empty out the pocket. I've got a pocket in the back too. This one I did not like. I thought this was kind of fun that I did this little folding out pocket like this, but I actually found it was too challenging for me to get into regularly. So basically I just kind of abandoned it, and I'm not going to do a pocket like that again, even though the theory was sound or the idea was, fun or whatever. It didn't work out for me. But I go through at the end of the month and I collect out anything I've left in the pocket and then transfer it to the new book. So here's my book for November, and I have a pocket already prepared in there. But I don't usually leave the back pockets with anything in them. I usually empty them out as part of my kind of closing out one month and moving into the next month. I used a mood tracker from Dancing Goddess Dolls. I didn't quite finish it yet, so I'm gonna have to go backwards a little bit and color in those last 3 jars. We got really busy over Samhain with birthday party and Halloween party and that kind of stuff, and that was something I didn't end up finishing filling out my mood tracker. Usually I don't leave much. If I have cards left in the back, I also cut or tear all of the remainder of the tear out pages. I cut and tear all of those out and then add them to the pocket of the new book. I don't leave anything in there that could be used for something else. So I like coloring the center of the moon wheel, and I like putting a cauldron in the center and then adding other things to my cauldron of that month. So if this is the month, what am I putting into it? Love, freedom, boundaries, power, blessings, friendship, sisterhood, focus, that kind of thing. And then I did color. I don't always color these mandalas, but I did this time. For this day, we were in St. Louis going to the dentist, and so I just used a really simple page with some art that I cut out of a Wee Moon date book. But then we went to the minifig shop after the dentist appointment, which is a Lego store. And so I'm always on the lookout for things that can be used in my prayer book. So I turned the business card into a little note card and put it in my pocket. And I also made some tiny little books in the car ride on the way. I got some new stencils from Wonder Strumpet Stencils. And I'm not that great with stencils, but I don't like to paint with them. I just like to trace around them. So I did that. Starting to feel the pumpkin-y kind of mood of the season and the theme. This book ends up getting really kind of wild with, well, wild is a strong word, getting kind of exuberant with pumpkin-y themed stuff. We were cleaning my kid's room and I put that little tag in there from her room. More little tags. And pockets. And little notes. Oh, this one. I forgot about this one. Whoops. I made these little like pull-out cards too with some extra poems on them that I didn't want to glue down. I wanted them to be kind of an insert that I could come back to. So this one is some notes that open up like that. Reminder from an issue of the Phoenix Soul with a poem inside and a tapestry cut out of a magazine. Still working with my stencils, trying to get a feel for them. They were back there too. Those I did paint. This is from the Phoenix Soul, Amanda at the Phoenix Soul as well. Some rain dripped on my pages and smeared them, but I do a recording of all of my poems each day. I do that as in transcription software, and so if they get smeary, it's okay because I still have them. That's from Mindy Tasanis Choi, who I have linked to before, Rules of Rebel House. I'm one of her patrons on Patreon as well. In this book, I started using proof. I have a proof copy of 30 Days of Goddess, or not 30 Days of Goddess, Sunlight on Cedar, that I was making some edits to, and so then after the edits were done, I didn't need the proof copy anymore, and so I started tearing it up and using bits of it in my book, which is kind of hard for me. Kind of goes against my nature to tear up a book, but there's really no need for me to keep a scribbled in, notes written in, highlighted, pages folded down proof copy of a book that I will have lots of other copies of. It's one of my own books. There's no need for me to have this like marked up. It's basically a scrap copy now. So I've been tearing it up, and it's been fun actually to do that. I used some more torn up little bits to make a little poem in there, a little book. This was from a Goddess Provisions box, also from packaging, and I liked to make that little fold out. One of those tarot cards that I mentioned, some torn out stuff, some things printed from Jennifer Loudon. I'm a member of her Oasis community, and so I printed some stuff out from there. I shared a separate video of this because I was so enchanted with my little pocket. A little tiny book inside, things cut out of a magazine for backgrounds, more taken from Sunlight on Cedar, and then I even made a teeny tiny little book cover with it too, with teeny tiny pages from printed out prayer cards that I put in my pocket. It's really this tarot deck I decided I wasn't going to use, so I decided to I wasn't going to use it as intended, and so I decided to use it as little inserts and things for my prayer book. And again, that can be one of those things that you feel like you're almost not allowed to do, and when I decided, hey, I think I'll get more use out of this deck if I incorporate the cards into my pages, I felt a lot of joy with that instead of having it be something that sat on my shelf not being used. This one I didn't have much time, and so I went very simple with just tracing around a stencil and using a printout of one of my own prayer cards. And I've said before, you don't have to, I write new things on this side of the page, and then I create art over here, but you can glue in things. Oh, I forgot to put my mood in on this day. You can glue things into your page instead, like if you have prayer cards that you want to use or things that I've written that you want to print out, you can put them over there. You don't have to write new things. Or you can also simultaneously, you can draw over there or something too if you want to. We had a ceremony for my daughter this month, and so one of the readings from the ceremony, I cut out part of it and put it in there. That was a reading we did communally, and this was from the chocolate that we had at her ceremony, so I cut the pomegranate out because, hello, pomegranates are amazing. And this was a reading that we did as well that I folded up and put in there, along with another one of the tarot cards that I thought represented kind of that strength of community and connection, gathering together with one another. And I was test printing some stuff, and so I used my test print to make a little book on that page. This card, oops, I'm going to lose my feather. This card was from the dentist, another dentist appointment, and I took one of the business cards there, and then I bought some paper at the craft store in the city, and I used that to make a background. I used a scrap of it. It was from the packaging. This is kind of a little note there. Oh, see, now I'm starting to get fancy with my stickers. My sister gave my kids some Halloween stickers, and I sort of appropriated a lot of them and then used them over and over. A miniature version of my October Magic prayer book, those little seasonal prayer books I make for our patrons at Patreon, which is patreon.com/Bridget'sGrove. And those are not part of 30 Days of Goddess. They're just like a separate additional extra fun thing if you like to make little small prayer books. This is one I'm still working on for the winter, but they end up, this size normally, and they fit into a standard size note card or thank you note for the cover. And but then I have a miniature version. I'd like to tuck it in my book. I was working on oracle cards with Fiona Beth's Symbol Seekers, and I printed out, I did that for 20 weeks. It's come to a close now, but I printed out my images that I made for that. I'm sorry about the light. I'm out in the studio, which usually has good light, but it's kind of late afternoon right now, and it's really an overcast day, and so my light keeps going kind of in and out. The phone has to keep adjusting, to understand what's going on, and so I apologize about that. And then I got some printed prayer cards, new concepts that I'm experimenting with, and so those came in, and I just tucked one into the page, so it's kind of a pull out, or I might take that out and put it into a different book. As it is right now, it's kind of marking the point at which they came in from the printer. We went for a walk, and there was some little envelopes there, and made a little book with another one of those scrap pieces of paper in it. Notes. I don't usually put the books in this way, so haha, shaking it up a little bit. So dramatic. More stickers. Another one of my cards. Leaves that we found on a walk. Some of the stickers shed themselves from this page. They were kind of old and put away. The sparkly ones were for my sister, but the other ones were just like extras that we had in our Halloween stuff, and they may be losing some of their sticky. And then tag from a t-shirt, one of my daily practice reminder cards. I'm really happy with those. They're fun and they're perfect for pockets. Some printouts from Living the Questions, which is a free class I'm offering this year. It's coming to an end in November, but the archive is still available. This page had kind of a frenetic dancing energy of fall, which kind of reflected my mental state at the time. I was feeling really jumpy and pulled in a lot of different directions, so it seemed appropriate. Another one of my little daily practice cards tucked in, a proof, just a black and white printed proof of some prayer cards I was working on, which have since arrived. Getting more sparkly and ready. Another daily practice card, another symbol seekers card, more leaves. This is a coloring page from Joni Ray of Tales of a Kitchen Witch. I didn't end up coloring it, and I decided that it's okay. Like sometimes I go back, but in general, one of my best and biggest tips or pieces of advice, so to speak, for a prayer book practice or for a 30 Days of Goddess practice is don't make yourself go back. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to make it better. Don't try to catch up. If you thought you were going to color something and you didn't, just keep on going. Like move on. Oh, I didn't know those were so sparkly. Move on by and keep going, and you will feel better about everything if you just let yourself literally and metaphorically turn the page. And then I'd shared these before. These are from Warts and Cunning. There was a little Samhain Oracle on one of their pages on Patreon too. I like how these books become kind of a compendium of different resources from all the people I'm patrons of. I appreciate the people who choose to become patrons of me and Bridges Grove, and then I like to apply that same joy to being a patron of other people's communities as well. And then these books become kind of a synthesis of different people's wisdom in one sacred container. I'd gotten some new little tags and some new rubber stamps here, so I have another kind of frenetic page where I was experimenting with those things, and I made all these little pockets to have a tag in them, so those little tags all come out and have a note on the back. And then I had these little jar-shaped tags as well, so these are just new things that come in, and I try to use them still with the sparkly stickers from the sister. This page I ended up doing really fast, and it ended up being one of my favorites. This was on my little boy's birthday, and I didn't have a lot of time, but he'd written me a little note. It says, "I love Molly," so he made a pocket for it himself, so I put it in there. And then I'd gotten my Dancing Goddess dolls mood tracker for the next month, and that was on the address label, so I cut it out and put it in there. And then I had some more of the Samhain or our Oracle cards from Warts and Cunning that I put in, and a sparkly hat sticker, and pumpkins. That was kind of like our pumpkin patch. And then we were very busy on Samhain, and so I used one of the, oops, it might have gotten glued in a little bit. I used one of the tarot cards and a little prayer from a new project I'm working on. And then we had played a game where you held up a little trick-or-treat thing that I brought from Universal Yums, and I glued on one of those to the back as just a reminder of the game we played at our party. And then another prayer card, Lilith Speaks, came in, and so I tucked a copy in there. And again, I might take that out and put it in a different book, but it kind of marks when it arrived for me. I usually glue something on the back page, not really elaborate, but so this is torn out of Sunlight on Cedar to kind of finish out the book. And I usually color the last picture to kind of finish it out. And as I said, I will tear out anything left over. Oh, there was an extra page that I put a poem on. I'll tear out anything left over and I'll empty out my pockets, and then I will consider November closed out, set aside, and November will come in instead. I'm already working on it. And oh, and there's those other cards I had mentioned, that those were proofs of them. But anyway, this really becomes, yeah, a sacred space in and of itself that can go with you pretty much anywhere and can hold pretty much anything. So thanks for being here. Bye-bye.